Hey guys, happy Wednesday and welcome to our card club gathering. I'm so excited that you had the opportunity to come join us tonight, as well as, of course, you guys know here at the G House is Miss G's birthday. Woo woo. So today Gabby is celebrating her 54th birthday. No, not 54, not yet.
Not even close.
45.
No, not even
Did I get the numbers confused? 41? 4-1.
Whatever.
4-1. So we are celebrating Ms. G's birthday. We've been celebrating since the morning because it's like the whole day. And it's just been fun to be able to, well, we kind of work from home. So it's not like she's somewhere else and I'm somewhere else. We've always been working together. So, but had a nice brunch earlier today with the boys. And then after the class, we'll probably do a little exit for a little bit for dinner. But it's been an amazing opportunity for us to be able to gather. Now, I do want to talk to you guys about a couple of different things that have recently come up. The first one is our live card club, or any club gathering for that matter. And the reason why it's recently come up is because it's been 3 months since the original club launch. This happened last month. What did it happen last month, or did it happen the month before that? So we had our first card club gathering. And so then, you know, the actual download and video go dormant for about, 3 months. Yeah. So then 4 months later, we officially relaunch it. And once we relaunch it, then technically anyone who decides to buy it has access to the video footage. So they have access to the replay of the live. Well, we noticed that it's getting a little wonky. So what I mean by that is people who've decided to who've maybe just found out about us or are interested in getting some of those classes and some of those downloads, the things that I say, like the things that I'm saying right now, become not very relevant 3 months, 4 months down the line. So we're not going to say, hey, happy birthday, Gabby, in December, because of course we're live for you guys here today, or whoever's kind of watching the replay, we kind of hope that they're watching within the month. I hope, or else it totally makes no sense on some of the things we say. So, and we realized that with Make a Splash, because Make a Splash was our very first club card gathering, and we've relaunched it. And so it's like, wait, we went back and we looked at that tape and we're like, what are we saying?
We're like, do we need to redo this?
It makes no sense to the people who are watching it for the first time or who have joined us for the first time. So we have thought of potentially recording all of the club gatherings so that we make them evergreen. In other words, we don't talk about the weather, or we don't talk about Gabby's birthday, or we don't talk about anything that's happening currently other than focusing on the class and the teaching and the sharing. So I'm not exactly sure. I haven't made a decision. I'm discussing it with the team and seeing kind of what everybody kind of feels and decides. Again, for those who are our club subscribers to date, they tend to follow along a little bit better. Maybe some of you are a little off the wagon. In other words, you're not creating the projects the month that they launch. But even then, you're close enough where you kind of understand maybe what we might be talking about, a little bit of our banter.
But some of them also like to join us and watch first, and
then
they go back and recreate it.
Right, so we do realize that as well. But again, if you're going to go back and rewatch the same footage, is there a little too much banter that you don't necessarily need when you want to zero in on the project itself? So again, a gazillion things that we're trying to figure out in regards to what is the best sequence for us to be able to educate our peeps without boring them with all the chit chat that typically goes live when I go live. Anyway, so food for thought, but hopefully you've received your kit. Let's go ahead and switch over to our top view.
I do want to point out that Andrea said, don't age yourself, Archie.
Sacrament.
Yes, because you were saying all these like, oh, I'm 54.
Yes.
Yeah, you're aging yourself too with that.
No, just Gabby, guys. She's way older, way older. I was just a little nugget.
Were you?
It was just a little baby.
All right, let's go to our bye.
And so here we have our super cutie patootie little special day digital download. As you can see, I've already gone in and colored the file. Actually, Ms. G did. She's like, I'm just gonna go ahead and help you out here because you always spend oodles and oodles of time coloring. And I don't think that your peeps want to see that every single time. So I understand completely. So thanks, Miss G, for the little boost. And you notice if you received a kit in the mail that you've got several embossed pieces and a variety of different little pieces. Make sure that you're careful with items like these because there is a pin and we try to make sure you don't hurt yourself because you might not be expecting it. And there's different bits and pieces and cuts and elements that we're going to be playing with today. Of course, she colored it, but she didn't actually cut it out. Really?
Well, you love to cut, so I left it up to you.
I do love to cut, but this time I'm gonna go ahead and use my scan and cut.
Oh, so you surprise me.
Surprise! So I like to remove my top there. I'm gonna bring in my machine. And I need my cutting mat placed, darling.
Do you want this one or the other one?
That's a new one, right? Let me go with the new one, please. Thank you. All right. I still have not gone in to remove the leftover paper from my uber loads of sticky mat.
That one's not too sticky. That one's not too sticky.
Yeah, hopefully that way it means it won't be psycho
So by
killer.
the way, we have mostly people are here saying that they love the banter and the chit chat. That's what makes the club so fun. Because yeah, we get to connect and talk.
Right.
As opposed to just pre-recorded.
All right, so I'm gonna load this in.
And Pat James just loves
Hi, Miss Pat.
the colors because of course she loves purple.
Yeah, this one was a little different, right? Let me make sure that my settings are correct on this one. And I'm gonna go ahead and scan this guy in. Now I am gonna go a little bit smaller on the cut per your guys' recommendations. I know typically I would go a -4, but some of you are suggesting that I go all the way down to a 5 or a 6 for a very, very small cut. I already know for a fact that I'm gonna go in and psycho killer it a little bit more because when I have flowers, when I have blooms, I do love to highlight every single little petal as much as I possibly can. Thank you. And so I'm gonna do that a little bit. I'm just kind of fixing my cut line and I'm going to go down to a 5. Ooh, did I say a 6? Let's go 5. I'm not that brave.
Oh, Linda Gorman says she already finished. She got my I got my cards done this afternoon, so she already did them. She's now just watching and enjoying the conversation.
See, that's kind of my thing. Like, you know, if we've already created, because I know you guys are pros already, and sometimes I do teach different techniques here and there, but for the most part, everything's already pre-cut. Everything's ready for you guys to just kind of do your thing. So I'm just kind of debating, like, you know, partly what I do love is the banter and the connecting. It's just so weird. Unless we do it twice, we can do a recorded version for the people who are gonna watch it later on down the road, and then a live version for our club members. Well, technically, well, I guess they're not club members if they get it down the road. Or they could be club members but decide to not be.
Or they might not see it when it's live.
Yeah.
And then Pat was shared a tip with us that you can use like an old credit card or gift card to scrape off of the paper that you still have on the mat.
Oh, right, right. pretty. Love it. Check it out, guys. Now I am gonna Psycho Killer some of it, but I think for the most part, it's not too bad. I could have gone down to a 6, but I got scared. I got scarce. But I do love that little white border. So, wow. We could have just spent hours cutting these out. And it's done. Look how awesome possum this special day. Well, Snap, I forget how useful this little gizmo is.
That one that you have right there is missing a little color.
You missed a color.
But that's because you had originally cut it off.
Oh,
so
right.
just saying.
Can I give you that before it gets dirty, please? Thank you. All right. So we've got all of our gorgeous pretties set out. Now, how many of you guys, raise your hand, how many of you guys are actually in my mixed media club as well? Because I am yet to share with you the files for that. They're already done. I had to keep going back and doing changes because what I originally wanted would be too expensive for everybody to be able to do at home. So I kept modifying it. And what I mean by that is it would be too costly for your printer.
Sorry, I'm just kind of giggling.
Are you laughing at me, babe?
No, not at you. Andrea Mill says, because she's cutting hers, so now there's more need for banter time, because, you know.
Andrea Suckerman, get it together. Why haven't you purchased a machine of these yet? I'm surprised.
So Linda Gorman says she uses -6 all the time.
Really? I used to just do 4,
and it sounds
but
like a lot of them too.
I think I'm gonna go 6. This is a 5. But see, I do love the little white border, but maybe it's too much of a little white border. But which is why I like to go Psycho Killer with my cutting. But this turned out pretty stunning, actually. It's like a perfect little cut. Now, did you guys happen to see, I saw Jen's post today, and I was like, holy Hannah, how in the heck are you doing that? How she's like taking apart the images and separating the flowers from the, I was like, whoa, Nelly. She shared it on her, I'm not sure if she shared it on her page or on the RG Studio 360 Creations page, but I thought that was pretty amazing. Uh-oh, I went Psycho Killer on this and now I have to finish the job. Sorry. Just kidding, I'm just giving Suckerman time to get caught up. Hurry up, Suckerman. Babe, so how does it feel to be that old? Do you feel wiser?
Very wiser. I've learned so much.
You've learned so much. Do you feel like you're in your mid-40s and late 40s now?
Wait, what?
What?
Well, it's because I was what? Ask me again.
See, you're already forgetful.
What?
Or maybe your hearing's going. I see what's going on. Babe! Oh, that's funny.
You're funny. Because I'm trying to do a lot of things at the
You're
same
trying
time.
to multi... So it wasn't a hearing problem.
No, I'm multitasking.
Got it.
I missed that.
Got it. Totally misread the situation. All right. So let's go ahead and get started, guys. We're going to go ahead and start with this green deliciousness here. And this one's kind of got a funky layer situation going on. So it's the one with the pin. Let's get it out of the way before we hurt ourselves here. So we definitely want to go ahead and fold our card base in half. And that is the one, for those of you who are cutting with the teacup and saucer, that's spilling blooms instead of tea. In case you're cutting, Zuckerman. And we've got a few different layers or different color layers here. So we're gonna start with a white base. And I do like to go ahead and adhere that down. Now I left my runner in the craft room, please. No, I can use this one actually. Left the ginormous runner over there.
Andrea said, what? The one image that she hasn't cut is the one.
What, Sacrament? I was gonna turn on the... All right, and then we've got a few different layers that are gonna go cattywampus. Now, they are gonna go cattywampus direct to the cardstock. I'm not gonna add, thank you, I'm not gonna add foam squares to this just yet because I really want them for texture. And they are gonna provide dimension on their own without having to add the dimension of the foam squares. So, just because of the color contrast. So see how I've kind of gone cattywampus on both. And then of course this is my top layer, which we're gonna wanna use a circle punch for, just to give us that little notch. Now, what I do like to do with this one is I like to create my bow. And there you've got quite a few of the seam binding bows. This is gonna be a double bow. Now, the trick with the seam binding is to make sure that you're twisting that seam binding in the center, but you have a flat around your finger. In other words, you're not bending it over or making it thin around your fingers. Make sure that it's laying flat, and it's gonna give you a prettier, fluffier bow when you're dealing with a thicker ribbon versus twine or something like that. So see how you end up with the perfect bow toppers versus the scrungy, tight, non-fluffy bow ends. Perfect. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna trim that off. And this is the one that's going to have the pin injected into it without hopefully going through your skin. If you see red, it's probably blood and you don't want that. So we kind of just, you know, inserted it into that, and I'll show you how I apply it in a little bit. And then I'm gonna grab my circle punch. It could be any size really. Gabby just gave me the 1 1/4. I would have preferred the 1 inch, but this is fine.
That's the first one I saw. Sorry.
Yeah, it won't matter too much actually. And when in doubt, we're gonna pop this guy right out, because now we want the dimension in here. And of course we're gonna add dimension to our, now I wanna show you guys a little trick. So instead of placing it here, I'm going to bring in my dimension or my foam square right close to my circle, because I want to, when I'm adding my bow, bury this into the foam part of the square. Okay, so it's not necessarily just to hold my cardstock down. In this case, I want to use it as a grabbing tool for my pin, so the adhesive will just, or the foam will just kind of grab on to my pin end. And it's going to be great. So then we're gonna bring this guy in. Again, a little cattywampus, but you definitely want to match the frame of your pink. Now that's what's gonna create a really cool contrast in your card. It almost looks like it's following the layering and of course the positioning of your pink cardstock, which is going to give your project that symmetrical look that's going to be well balanced. If I would have made it too far off the pink, then it would have been really, really busy. But because we've aligned it to the pink, which is your biggest, heaviest color compared to the green, then that layer of lavender just becomes an accent color, which is going to be fantastic. And then we're going to bring in our pin and stick it to that foam square all the way through. Now, if you wanted to, because we are going to be adding splattering, you can certainly add your splattering prior to your ribbon, because what's going to happen once it lands on the seam binding is that it's going to want to run. So I recommend that you add your splattering now and then let it sit and dry, and then we can come back and finish it. And I'm going to do that to all the projects because I don't want any seam binding to get any of the ink drops because it spreads. Now let me show you what I mean by that. I have one here that I did that way, and see how that seam, that the ink doesn't just stay as a drop, but it tends to want to spread, and it just makes it more mushy, more heavy looking than you really want. So I am going to grab my ink and I'm going to add my drops. Just like so. And now I can set it aside to dry. So I'll come back to that. So we're going to go ahead and jump onto the next card. I love that, by the way. I love how all of that just kind of looks. We're going to jump onto our next card, and then once we start splattering the next card, we can come back and finish the first one we splattered and carry on that way. So let's go ahead and grab the one that has the half color or half tones. What I mean by that is you have the half C that's going to come in here. Some of you might have the top half, some of you might have the bottom half, depending on how the kit was kitted. But it doesn't really matter.
I think they should all be able to use it the same way.
So we'll create our card base, and then we're going to go ahead and apply our heavy pink.
So just real quick, as you're doing that, I want to share that Pat shared with us that she finally graduated from tying bows.
Oh, yay!
But she's still failing at the splattering.
One day at a time.
So she's working on it.
So we're just going to go ahead and add that flush. Seem to have just a little. Perfect. Now what I want to do is I'm going to bring in that vellum. But I'm only adding the adhesive right to the center because of course I'm going to end up covering. And what's so great about this is that it actually, I'm going to varnish it a little bit. And it just creates a really cool look with the two colors, the two tones, and of course you've got your vellum right on top of that. Super fun. And then of course this is going to come as our top layer to kind of marry it all together. Now this particular one also has a little bit of ink splattering. So let's go ahead and do the ink splattering without adding our ribbon, without adding any of those pieces. Now remember how usually I do the ink splattering at the end? Not with this particular set of cards mainly because of the seam binding. Now if you wanted to, you can certainly protect the seam binding, like with a piece of cardstock or something like that. But then it just becomes a little bit of extra work and you may not necessarily want that. So this is our second card background set here. We're going to let it dry and then we'll come back and do our finisher right on top of that. Let's see how our first card is doing. I still see a few like where the bigger drops are. They're still a little wet, so I'm gonna go ahead and go to card number 3, and then we'll come back and we'll start tying all our loose ends little by little. How's everybody doing? Am I going too fast? Talk to me. Talk to me. I'll sip on my tea here. Let me know if you need me to slow down a bit, guys. Especially Suckerman, who's probably still cutting. So I've got the one that has the deeper layers of lavender and purples. And of course it's got a white card base.
Rose says yes, way too fast.
Way
LOL.
too fast.
So just go really slow.
We're gonna go into sloth mode.
There you go.
Sloth mode. Wait, now I'm speaking well. I'm a little confused. Alright guys, so we've got several layers here that we definitely want to adhere together. But let's go ahead and adhere the light lavender to our card base.
Rose is like, dude, I'm not even done coloring.
Well, you're never gonna catch up like that, Rosemary. What?
And Gail Thompson, she's also coloring.
Well, not to worry, guys. That's what's so great about a replay. And you know what? It's totally my fault because I used to color on during the show.
And this time I color.
And this time Gabby kind of decided to jump in and said, RG, you're gonna get boring if you're gonna do nothing but coloring on the show. So she's
so
like,
now I'm gonna get yelled at.
So she took over. Yeah, it's totally Gabby's fault.
It's my fault.
Miss G's like, I'm done with you. If I have to hear your coloring drama one more time.
When you say, I don't like to color. I don't like to color.
Yeah, see? Told you guys. Alright, so we've stuck the vellum layer. You can't really see it, but in person you'll be able to see it because of course you've got the texture on there, which is yummy. And then of course it's gonna come right into our card layer. And of course, because it also has some seam binding, I'm going to go ahead and do my splattering prior to finishing this off.
Andrea, she's like, perfect day to do it because they can't yell at me because it's my birthday.
Yay! Gabby's like, yay!
I do what I want. I'm just kidding. But just today.
Just today. She's like, next month you can go back to your boring class of coloring. Tell me how you really feel, babe.
Those are your words, not mine.
All right. Since y'all are still coloring, let's go ahead and set up our 4th card. That way they all dry. Once they're all splattered, we'll come back and we'll quickly put them together. I'm going to remove this top layer here. And I'm going to fold my card base. Now this one you have a few different punched out circles. And I'm going to kind of show you how to lay them down on the white. So the first thing we want to do is I'm going to add a strip of tape here. And then I'm going to position the circles, and I'm basically just going to bring them in back to back. I'm going to bring this just a little bit higher. Where are you going? You took a shower.
I always take a shower.
Oh. So our son finally arrived to wish his mother a happy birthday. And I can smell cologne, and I'm like, where are you gonna go?
That's what I said.
What's happening?
I can't dress nice for my mother.
Oh, it's because of your mother's birthday. Yes, you should dress nice for your mother. Sorry, guys, I'm just playing a little bit because I wanted to be more centered. I was distracted by the cologne, and now I'm a little cattywampus. All right, so you just want to make sure that you're adhering them down to the center all the way through, and then I'm going to come back and trim off those edges. Now remember, there's going to be a row of seam binding that's going to come and cover that. And once it's done, I do like to pick up the edges of the circles so that they're almost like hugging the seam binding that comes around. But this guy is gonna go on top of this guy with the ribbon around it. And then on top of this guy, and then on top of this guy. So once we've got them all laid out, we're going to go ahead and splatter these. And this is going to be so much better, guys, than actually doing it with your seam binding on already, because the beauty of your seam binding is really going to pop, and you're not going to get any of the ink marks on it. So it's all going to basically be background, and you won't be struggling with it at all. So this kind of, we've just created our 4 card bases. They are set, good to go. And our first 2 are already dry, but I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to get caught up on all that we've done here so far, so that I don't get yelled at on going like super lightning fast rate speed, and we are going to go a little bit sloth mode. So I'll give you a few minutes to get caught up on some of your coloring, some of your cutting, or maybe even some of your layering and splattering, as well as give a couple of minutes for your splattering to dry so that we can come back and start adding all of our pretties, our images, our ribbons, our yummies, and create the 4 gorgeous cards that we are set to do today. So we're going to take a small break so that you guys can kind of get caught up a little bit and or go potty, and then we'll see you here in just a few minutes. Hey guys, RG here, welcome back. I hope you're all caught up, and I'm talking to you, Zuckerman, and you, Rose, because they wanted me to go sloth mode on our cards today, but gorgeous, gorgeous layouts. I hope that you guys are kind of caught up. Now, some of you might just be tuning in. I'm not going to mention any names, but I'm kind of getting this idea that maybe Nikki's late and definitely Alex. So if in fact you guys are just now tuning in, good luck catching up. But it's going to be fun for the next half of the show because we just get to put everything together. We've already created all our bases, all of our layers, all of our splattering. Everything is dry and ready for us to add foo-foo-y ribbons and pretty embellishments that we've created with our digital designs. So let's go ahead and switch on over to our top view here. And again, everything is dry, laid out, and ready to go. And we're going to go ahead and start with the first card that we splattered and inked. And remember, we talked about our super cutie patootie little pin with our bow.
Alex says now she's driving home so she can listen only and don't make fun of her RG.
You're just now driving home, Alex.
So she's listening to you.
Mm-hmm. Check it out, guys. Adding that little pin there just give it such an elegant touch. And remember, guys, that little cut on the cardstock is what allows us to go deeper into the actual layer itself while still creating that beautiful synergy all the way through. And I just love that it's being added with the pin, and we just kind of buried it into one of those foam squares, so it's never going to kind of come loose or anything like that. Because it's now stuck in there. So what we want to do is we're going to want to grab our teapot that has the falling flower petals coming out of it. And we're going to pop this guy right out using some of our foam squares here. I love the little saucer. How it's all just kind of pouring out. And I'm going to bring it just right underneath the line of my cardstock there. Now this one has the heartfelt wishes sentiment. Of course, I'm going to have to come down and split these because I've split every single one of these greetings in half so that I can fit them all in the layout that I wanted. Even though I did use my scan and cut, so now I am going to bring in my foam squares. And I'm going to add my heartfelt. And then right underneath that, wishes. Check it out. Pretty. So fun. Now you do have some chunky glitter, and you also have some sequins that you're going to get to add and incorporate any way you wish. As we get closer to the end, I am going to add all my studio resin and my sparklies, but I do like to photograph them without. They're so much easier to photograph without the resin at first. And we're going to jump into card number 2. Now, when you're actually creating projects, guys, I actually have a question. When you're actually creating projects, what is the hardest part for you to do? This part? What do you struggle with? Do you struggle with this part? Like the background, the layout, the layers? Or do you struggle with this part, trying to figure out, you know,
How to place them.
where to place them, what to do? Because I always do wonder. I mean, in my case, it's a little different because I typically see the whole thing, but sometimes I wonder if the need is to teach more the essence of backgrounds and layers, or how can I help? All right, so this is just going to be a bow knot. No additional foo-foo layers, just a regular bow knot. And we're gonna pop this guy right out. And again, so much prettier once you've already added your splattering, and you don't have to worry about, let me make sure I have my card opening in the right direction. You don't have to worry about getting any ink on your seam binding. And I love this particular file with all of the teacups. Now it does have a different angle perspective, and I hope that you guys caught it, because most of the sets that you see out there that actually have the teacups, they start with a larger teacup on the bottom, and then they work their way up. And that means that the perspective is a little off, because typically if you're taking the photograph from standing point, or if you're looking at this from standing point, your smaller teapot would be at the bottom and not at the top. The top one would be the largest one, and they would trickle their way down based off of the angle and perspective. So that's kind of why I did it this way, is I wanted to show a different angle, different perspective, and most people's cards will always lay, you know, if they want to showcase them on their mantle, they'll lay this way, and so it's always going to give you that amazing view to all your teacups. So definitely a special day greeting is going to go on this one. Now this Friday's class, guys, the class that's going to go live on Friday is pre-recorded already. So I can't wait to hear what you guys think about that class, because that's what's going to really help us determine, you know, if the other way will actually work for everyone. So here we have our special day with our seam binding, super adorable. How's everybody doing?
Looks like they're doing great.
Alrighty guys, let's go ahead and bring our white card base. With the vellum. And this one's also going to have a knot, a bow knot. we've got some monsoons here that are pretty amazing. So we don't typically get, it's very rare, but where we live, we don't typically get the whole Haboob sandstorm dilemma because we're too far out from the city, or I guess from its running path. I created a little notch there with the circle punch, which is where that's gonna fall into, okay? So we don't actually get those very often. We'll get like the very tail side end, which is not the actual dust storm itself. We will get the dirty rain, but we don't actually get the big, huge, you know, dramatic dust cloud rolling by thing. It just doesn't really happen on this end. It has happened, but not very common. So check out how beautiful that is. I love it. And now I'm going to bring in my teapot. But anywho, what we do get is we do get the rain curtains here quite a bit. Now they don't tend to happen as much down closer to the city, but they happen up here a little bit more, where you have those huge, massive patches of rain curtains. I call them rain curtains because they're just raining specifically in that spot. Now you guys have a couple of options here. You can decide to cut out the inside of that handle, that teapot handle, and bring it around that ribbon, or you can simply bring your teapot slightly lower and place it that way. So it's totally up to you. I'm going to do it differently than what I did my original. And I'm just going to bring that teapot a little bit lower to kind of say that I took advantage of my scan and cut cutting. And I'm also going to pop out my card base. But anyway, those rain curtains come and they're like flood drains. Like they tend to flood that area within minutes. It's just crazy how the monsoon works that way. It's just like it's not just pouring in that area, it's like pouring in that area. Like gallons of water are being thrown per second. It's just nuts.
You know, it's pretty crazy. We don't get a lot of rain, but this is our rain season right now. Summer.
Which brings me to my point of it's not a dry heat, because it's a dry heat until summer comes, and then the monsoon season hits, and then of course it's humid. Well, duh. Then the summer's the only one that counts here, where it's hot. The rest of the year, it's amazing. So many thanks. I'm actually gonna double pop this one because it's on 2 different layers there, and I really wanted to showcase. Anyways, guys, pretty impressive. Now, unfortunately, it does take people's power. Fortunately, it has not happened to us.
Or blow away
or blow away your outdoor furniture. But like I said, we've been fortunate. That hasn't really happened over here just yet. Many thanks, guys. Look how pretty that is. Like, it really showcases the teapot a little bit more and the blooms that come along with it. And I love that ribbon. I love that bow. So fluffy.
It's so fluffy.
How's it going, guys?
Zuckerman says she loves coloring these. She had fun coloring.
Now this one also, I ended up putting the little umbrella with the tulips on the side. Totally up to you guys. I think it looks cool. It certainly doesn't need it. but nor do I need more craft supplies, and I keep getting them. So there goes that idea. Just kind of cool little add-on piece to my teapotty.
Your teapot.
Teapot. Remember, guys, originally I was going to make it Mad Hatter, and then I got scared. I said, ooh, I'm going to do this summer Mad Hatter tea thing, and then it was already planned out that way, and then all of a sudden I'm like, what if I get criticized for, you know...
You can't be afraid.
All of a sudden, people will be offended by the Mad Hatter because it has an you know, like all of a sudden I feel like everybody, I'm bound to upset somebody somehow.
Well, I'm gonna say that you can never please everyone.
I can't please everybody, but I
No.
certainly don't want to rock the boat. Like, if you're like, oh, all of a sudden it's gonna have a drug implication, and you know the Mad Hatter and all that nonsense, and I was like,
I mean, people talk about Disney all the time.
better not.
I mean, it's funny to me how they even criticize Disney movies too. Like, like okay.
I don't know. It's crazy.
See, Gail Thompson said, please don't limit your creativity.
I know. Well, you know, I got a little. I was like, I don't want people to get the wrong idea. I just really am inspired by the. I was inspired by the Mad Hatter Tea Party, and I was gonna turn it into, you know, this kind of really crazy, cool Mad Hatter vibe.
Rose says, do your own thing. We can't worry about what others think. It's their own issue.
That's for sure. Alright guys, because I have the ribbon on here, I'm going to apply the tape slightly different here.
Christine Roy says, aren't we all a little mad here?
Hey Christine! Gosh, I didn't know you were on here. I would have been louder.
She's been
Just
kind
kidding.
of quiet for.
I know, it's just kind of nuts, you know. Sometimes I'm like, was it yesterday that I got yelled at for the selfie thing? I was like, what?
Yes, that was fun.
What's going on?
We just can't seem to get it right,
I
babe.
think I broke this.
Well, I brought you the other.
Oh, you did bring it
Yeah.
up. Gracias.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what? No, that's not the intention, guys.
It's like, well, we just can't get anything right, huh, babe?
I was
Apparently.
like, come on. Ay, ay, ay. Anywho, so when in doubt, we're gonna pop these guys right out. So cool. I just love these sets of cards. Oh, you know what I was gonna show you? I was totally gonna show you the download. Although maybe, I know that not all of you are in the mixed media class, so maybe not the best idea. But I was really excited about it.
We'll show you mañana.
Mañana. The sun will come out mañana. That's the Mexican version.
Okay.
Alright, so now I'm popping these guys this one right out. That's the layer that goes right in between my card base. Look how pretty that is. I love it. And of course my Super Psycho Killer Crazy Cute umbrella with the bloomies. And I'm gonna, originally I made it straight, but I'm gonna make this one a little cattywampus because I love it. I absolutely love that umbrella. I wanna say it's probably my favorite of all of these images. They're all gorgeous. I love them all, but I just think that the umbrella has, you know, it could be for a bridal shower. So what I'm designing next is a variety of different like sentiments that can coordinate with a lot of our downloads, so that if you want something more like, you know, welcome baby or for your bridal shower or things like that, you have them and you can just marry them to some of our original designs. So it's kind of cool. And now I'm going to be popping these guys right out. Oh, they want to see it. Well, that's weird.
And by the way, it's storming outside.
Is it storming outside? So cool. Let's take the camera out there so they can see.
Yeah, that would be a little difficult.
Oh. Can't we just take everything out there? We'll just do crafting in the rain.
Okay.
We're crafting in the rain. That might not work out with our kind of craft, actually.
Yeah.
And we got mush. Yay. All right. So we've got the many blessings. I love, 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 love the many
love the
blessings. Isn't the umbrella gorgeous? We need it right now, apparently, because it's storming outside. But I'm sure it's just a curtain of rain. It's one of those, like, is it a...
It's passing by.
It's passing by.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we're going to have two pools in our backyard. A regular pool and the one that was created by the curtain of rain. So check it out, guys. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous cards that we were able to create tonight for Miss G's birthday. What? Gabby gets all of these cards because it's your special day and we want to give you heartfelt wishes. And we're so thankful. So many thanks to you for all the things you do. And we wish you many blessings.
Aw,
See?
how sweet.
Ta-da! Super fun. All right, guys. So I promised I would share the digital files, and it's kind of cheating because I know you're not all on our mixed media club, but I know many of you are, and we kind of want to give you that sneak peek. I'm actually probably going to go live right now on that mixed media club gathering just to kind of get them all excited about the files and let them know what I'm creating. And I finally finalized them today because I kept going back and forth. I kept switching the colors. I kept switching because I didn't want it to cost a fortune with printing for all of the files. Now, I may decide to do something like this for our card club in the future, so just kind of bear with me. See, here's the thing. I feel a little limitless. Granted, I always worry about what people are gonna, think or say about, my launch sequence or the reason why I'm launching something. But now with I hear water.
It is pouring outside.
Like a lot of water.
It is.
Ooh, anyway, bye guys, because I'm gonna go see the water. Just kidding. So the other thing is, this is my very first try with the Mixed Media Club of doing something a little crazier, a little more rogue. And if it works out, I will do it with my card club as well, because I have no limits, quote, a little bit, quote unquote, no limits, because I can merge images together. And because it's a printable and because it's a download, I can fuse things together. But I do think about the cost implementations about printing in color. So I do worry about that a little bit. So anyway, let me show you. Let's switch over to the top view here. My files, it's 2 files. Well, technically it's going to be a total of 8 for all of my club subscribers. But the ones that are actually going to receive on their kit are Old Prince Tweet. Now, it's a merge of files, right? So again, I created that newspaper element background. So when we actually come in and cut these out for our mini book, they have that print in the background already. So I'm gonna go a little rogue on this one. It's super amazing, Psycho Killer, and of course we have a bunch of words that we're gonna be adding to our book. And it's just kind of cool. So I'm gonna paper piece a little bit. I'm playing with a few different areas, but this is kind of the vibe. It's this one's still technically black and white because it's a grayscale. Originally, I had done it with some more vintage antique yellows and some antique reds, and so I ended up moving all the color out because I was afraid that in your printer you were gonna shoot me. So along those lines, I may be creating some merged files for Absolutely Ready. So all my mixed media people are actually going to receive the file prints that are merged as well as the file prints separate, so that if they just want to use the bird without the file print, they can do that. I mean, all these amazing options, right? Who would have thought?
Well, you got a lot of wows and yippee and wow.
Yeah, it's going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts. But super exciting, guys. Now, I don't know if you can hear that rain in the background. It's nuts. Can we hear it? Is this window open? Oh, It doesn't open.
It
Oh
does
yeah, it
open.
does. You have to hear this rain, guys. It's crazy pouring, which means that there is going to be a flood, and chances are the 303 is going to be closed. So that's water. That's water. And that water is like all up in my front door because the studio is right by the front door. But anyway, guys, I hope we can actually craft to the sound of the rain.
Yeah, we can actually, but I don't think they will be able to see it.
They won't be able to see it,
Because of the
guys.
space.
But anyway, guys, I hope you had fun tonight. Typically, after a class, I like to go sit outside by the pool. Not gonna happen today.
Or you could just show the rain this time.
But it's absolutely gorgeous outside. I love to craft when it's raining. Let's just do another session.
It's like super windy outside.
It's like
too.
super stormy and crazy, like thunder, lightning. So if our power goes out here in just a minute, at least we finish the class, guys. But it's like, oh. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining us today, guys. Thanks for being the best part of RG Studio 360. Remember, guys, to continue to create and capture a life worth sharing so that we can bring hope and inspire the world around us to create some more. Thanks for joining us and have an amazing rest of your night. Buenas noches.